Hey, so my wife is getting everything in my divorce, including my guitar. Can you make this thing as worthless as possible without destroying it? I most certainly can.
Many months later.
What the? Her web connects us all. Listen, I know all of you went out to see Madam Web during the 2 weeks it was in theaters this year and absolutely loved it. Dakota Johnson's face as Madam Web, slightly smashed to fit a 16:9 aspect ratio, is just the best when it's copied and pasted all over Jackson Soloist body. Yeah, that's right, this is actually the same Jackson Soloist that was featured in the last Brutally Honest review. Even though the Kramer Beretta was about the same price as the SL3X DX, those two guitars are about the same as Putin and Zelensky.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Bruh.
President Putin.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
So I decided to bring it back for a more fair comparison with a guitar that's actually $200 more, but more equal in design and specs. If you watched the last Brutally Honest review, you already know that this SL3X DX is an Indonesian demon. It absolutely destroyed the Beretta in playability on many fronts, in my opinion. The neck thickness and access and overall playability just suits my playing style more so than the Beretta, which is more like a Strat in Shredder's clothing. Nothing's really changed about that review, but there was some key things about the Jackson that I sort of overlooked because the playability was so much better than the Kramer Beretta for what I do. So the Floyd Rose Special has this really weird issue with the tremolo on it. I just really can't seem to get through the solo on it without it getting looser than a cheap hooker on a Friday night. Fuck you and your limp fucking whammy bar. You got a limp fucking whammy bar? You can eat my fucking ass. I've had several other Floyd specials on other guitars that haven't had this issue, so maybe it's just a fluke with this one in particular, I'm not sure. The other thing was just a few things I noticed about the finish on this guitar. Just some indicators here to me that Jackson probably cut some corners just to keep the cost low. But the trim is kind of uneven around the headstock and the neck, and it definitely shows for sure.
Hello, it's your favorite president. I'm here because Kayla totally forgot to introduce this guitar on camera. You know, I'm really not sure this nasty woman is competent to do anything more than run a drive-thru at a Dairy Queen. This bitch really needs to get it together. I talk all day in the blazing heat in front of thousands of people. They can't even remember basic things in a room with the air conditioning blasting, so that's all for now. Just wanted to tell you all that this guitar is the new Kramer Stagemaster, so you aren't all confused. And she's going to be playing a cut from a track her and her band have been writing. How exciting is that? An actually new groove metal song in 2024. Can you believe it?
off, can I just say thank you to Gibson and Kramer for bringing this design back? The Stagemaster was one of their better designs in the 80s, and this seems to have been a really worthy reissue. Best I can tell is that this is a pure reproduction of the 1980 specs and not a spec change. The Stagemaster was introduced right around 1986, which is about the same time that the Jackson Soloist was first introduced. So one could surmise that this is Kramer's answer to the edgier, shreddier guitars that Jackson and Charvel were producing for the market. Fast forward to today, both of these guitars are still in direct competition with each other. While there's a lot of similarities between the two, there's some really important key differences. The first major one being the neck. I thought for a long time about how I could properly illustrate the difference of the neck on this guitar versus the SL3X. I don't know about y'all, but I get really frustrated by manufacturers not saying much about the neck profile on the guitar, instead just assigning it a random C or D shape and then just being like,
"That'll do, pig. That'll do."
Random letters really mean nothing to me. I mean, you could make the argument that every guitar neck is some kind of C shape unless it has aggressive flat edges in the back of it. What means the most to me is being able to visually see the profile of the neck and being able to compare that to the profile of other necks and guitars that I already know. So I took it on myself to figure out how I could accurately depict the neck profiles of these guitars on camera, and I found out about this handy little tool called the contour gauge. And fellas, you might want to add this tool to your nightstand next to your ruler. Not only can I take a precise measurement of the curve of each neck, but I can literally show you the difference by putting the measurement inside of the other one. So here we have the SL3X neck and the Stagemaster neck measured out on the contour gauge. If you'll notice, there's a bit of a gap between the rest of the fins on the bottom of the Jackson neck, and that's because the neck on the Stagemaster is thicker than the neck on the Jackson. And for the same reason, you'll notice there's a gap between the measurements when the Soloist is on the bottom, because the neck on the Soloist is thinner than the Stagemaster. And just for funsies, here's the both of them compared to the neck on my JK8000. You'll notice that the Stagemaster has a little bit skinnier of a neck, but is still thicker than the JK8000. For the record, both of those measurements were taken with the guitars laying face down, ass up on a table, just to ensure they're as equal as possible. Where the Kramer undeniably has it though is the build quality. Just picking up this guitar is so much sturdier than the SL3X, and this is also made in Indonesia just like the SL3X is. The finish is really professionally done with no signs of errors in the trim or the corners or the neck or anywhere. The Floyd Rose 1000 that comes with this guitar also seems to be pretty superior to the Floyd Rose Special that's on the Jackson. The Stagemaster also has that cutaway all the way down the neck heel, just like the Soloist does, for that really great upper fret access. On top of all that, the Stagemaster is just like a really good looking guitar. Besides the new colors, these are exactly the way they looked in the 1980s, and the design really does hold up today. The beak inlays are really cool, the pointy headstock's really cool, the descending Kramer logo on the headstock is really cool, and the archtop body on this guitar is freaking dope as hell. For your money, in my opinion, I think you're better off getting the SM1 if it's between the two. That being said, bear in mind the differences in neck shapes here. The Soloist may be more your jam if you're into flatter and wider necks. Personally, the skinnier neck on the Stagemaster feels a little more at home to me just because it reminds me of my JK8000 neck, even though it is a little bit thicker. And of course, both of these guitars can be had at zzounds right now, $849 for the Jackson and $1049 for the Kramer. Both the Kramer and the Jackson have no credit check financing available, something that zzounds offers that other retailers don't. And for that extra peace of mind, the return policy is 45 days after your order is delivered. zzounds is a freaking awesome company, and if you purchase either of these guitars or anything else in the description, I get paid too. I genuinely appreciate the support so much. It helps me continue doing these unsponsored and brutally honest reviews for you guys.